right, thank you everyone for joining us for our first Children and Youth Speaker Series program of 2024 with Alice Fours. Now that you're all set up with your technology, we're grateful to have you here. Joining you today, we have myself. I'm the co-executive director of AboutFace, and I've been with AboutFace for 3 years, and I'm joined by my coworker, Namrit.
Hi, everybody. As Adriana said, my name is Namrit. I am also the co-executive director of AboutFace, and I've been with the organization for about 3 years as well.
Awesome. So before we do begin the formal program, we do want to start with the land acknowledgement. Each of us is joining the program today from a different location and therefore a different Indigenous land. I wish to acknowledge the land on which AboutFace is headquartered, which is in the city of Toronto. This land is a traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, this meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. We hope that after our session today, you'll take a moment to learn more about the land that you occupy. So just a bit of a lay of the land for our Zoom call today. So as a reminder, this is being recorded for those who are joining us live. So you're more than welcome to join with your camera on or off, muted or unmuted, or using the chat. The recording of this program will be uploaded to our YouTube page as a resource for the community once the program is complete. Please use the chat for any questions that you might have, and those can be directed to Alice during the program and after as well. And the chat will be used for you to participate throughout the program how you choose. One last thing to note before we do start is that we cannot provide any specific advice or counseling. So if you do have any questions that might be considered this, we ask that you direct those to your healthcare team.
Perfect. Thank you, Adriana. Today, we are joined by community member and AboutFace volunteer, Alice Fours, who will share how she found her confidence and love for her unique story. Alice had a hemangioma and found confidence through Camp Trailblazers at AboutFace. Now, as a medical student, she empowers youth with facial differences to build confidence and love their own unique story while hoping to improve awareness and support for the facial difference community in the healthcare field. Please welcome Alice.
Amazing. Thank you so much for the introduction. My name is Alice, and I am super excited, and I hope all of you are also excited to get into this presentation. So I'll start by sharing my screen here. And please do let me know if you can see my screen. Just a thumbs up is fine. Perfect. Okay. So, like I mentioned, the topic of today's webinar is diving into our confidence and embracing our unique story. Throughout this webinar, we'll explore really understanding who we are at our core, because I really do feel like, especially in this day and age of social media, I personally struggle with maintaining and kind of like having time to think about my own identity, especially with all these trends and scrolling mindlessly. So I hope that we can take the next 30 to 45 minutes to really think about ourselves, to reflect, and, leave this presentation feeling really good and confident. So during this presentation, I hope to talk about, negative comments that we've received and kind of dealing with that. As well, I want to focus on our positive aspects and really embracing that side of you, that side of you that is very unique. And, preparing you with some strategies that you can find a little bit more confidence in your day-to-day life. So let's get into it. And like Adriana and Namrit mentioned, if you have any questions or, just want to share or unmute, feel free to type your question in the chat or, unmute yourself. I'm more than happy to engage. And I do want this to be interactive. So if you do feel comfortable, I would really, really love for you to share. Okay, so just as an introduction, like Namrit mentioned, my name's Alice, and I joined the organization as a child first at AboutFace Camp Trailblazers. And that experience for me was very transformative. So in 2021, I started volunteering with the organization, doing some youth programming. And more recently, I got into medical school at UBC, but originally I'm from Ontario. So this fall, I'll be heading into my second year of medical school. So yeah, like today, like I said, today we're going to be diving deep into our ocean of confidence and learning how to embrace our unique stories. And forgive me for all these ocean, dad jokes, but um, I thought it'd be fun to have like an ocean theme going throughout this whole webinar. But yeah, just like the ocean, each of us has different layers and depths that makes us special, and I'm very excited to begin. But before we start, let's just make sure that you have any writing supplies or art supplies that you have around you. Nothing fancy, but there will be a few reflection exercises and journaling exercises where you'll need a pen or pencil. And then at the end, we'll do a drawing. So any markers or pencil crayons that you have around you, as well as pieces of paper, that will be great. And I'll just give you a few moments while I speak to collect that. And if you're joining offline, feel free to pause and collect those materials as well. But yes, allow me to introduce my own journey and let's get into it. Okay, so my facial difference. Growing up, I had a hemangioma on my chin, and to be honest, it really significantly impacted how I viewed myself. And especially when others pointed it out, it really made me feel insecure. People often asked about the mark on my face, which kind of made me anxious and scared to really go outside my comfort zone, make friends, because I'd be afraid that people would kind of, judge me for this. And I was more introverted than I would have liked. I was afraid to speak up in class, and even navigating healthcare settings was challenging. Medical staff would often point out my facial difference in ways that weren't the most respectful, kind of made me uncomfortable, and you know, it kind of made me feel like an outsider most of the time. So, like I said, these experiences really made me feel like a little fish in a big sea, anxious and scared. Because I really feel like I couldn't have a normal conversation or meet someone without them bringing up my facial difference. And even till this day, people point it out, and it's something that I just have to constantly be aware of. But I do want to acknowledge that my experience with a facial difference is unique, and not all facial differences are made equal. So your facial difference is different than somebody else's. And I have the privilege with my facial difference that it's not noticeable in certain settings, like over Zoom. So even though I have this privilege, I do think that some of what I can say can hopefully resonate. And I really do thank you for allowing me to share my story, because it is really crucial to, really be confident and kind of navigate life with your self-esteem hand in hand. Okay, so enough me talking. Let's move into our first activity, letting go of negative comments. So we'll start this activity by basically pretending we're diving deep into our ocean and we're finding buried treasure. And I want you to take a moment to get a piece of paper and a pencil and just write down some negative things that you may have, negative comments you may have received in the past, or negative things that you sometimes tell yourself. And it's just something that you can't get rid of. And I want you to write them down, like, we're going and we're finding pollution and junk on the ocean floor, and we're writing it down. And then after, we will shred this piece of paper and physically, get rid of all these negative comments, because we're making space for positivity. So I will go ahead and set a 2-minute timer here, and feel free to just get your materials and take a few moments to write down these negative comments. Okay, just bringing everyone back to the call here. So I'd like to extend, take a moment to kind of just reflect on how that made you feel, just seeing all these negative, stuff that has kind of been said to you in the past, or you sometimes tell yourself, but you know isn't true. Um, just take a moment to reflect how that made you feel. And if you feel comfortable sharing, feel free to unmute or type in the chat. And I'll just give everyone a few moments to do that. And you don't have to get personal at all. It could just be, some of the things that came up for you, some of the feelings that came up for you. So I'll go ahead and share, and if anyone would like to share after me, that's perfectly fine. So to be honest, seeing this stuff really made me feel not great. It kind of brought me back to those moments where I did receive those comments, and you know, it's it did bring up some negative feelings for me. And yeah, so I'm really looking forward to just shredding them. So let's take this moment to go ahead and shred. Oh, I did see two things in the chat. Let me just pull that up. Okay, okay. So Zoe in the chat said sad, self-conscious. Yeah, fully agree. It did make me feel really insecure as well. And yeah, not great. Thank you for sharing, Zoe. So let's go ahead, like I said, just take this piece of paper that you have in front of you and just shred it up into however many pieces you want. Really do this paper what you're capable of, and just crumple it up, whatever you need to do, just throw it out because it is junk at the bottom of the ocean. It's pollution. It doesn't belong in your head, and all these comments don't actually define you. Okay, I crumpled up into so many pieces of paper, shredded it. Whew. Okay, so how does that feel? How did it feel, writing everything down and then finally just shredding it, destroying it? How did that feel? I'll give everyone a few moments to type in the chat or unmute. For me, I'll go ahead and share it while people are typing. For me, it really felt relieving. It felt freeing. It felt like there's just something about writing it down and then clearing your mind. It feels like you're clearing your mind from this junk. And I just want to remind everyone that these negative comments really don't define us. And I feel like, especially the thing about self-esteem and confidence is, these negative feedback loops. When we're already having a bad day and you remember this comment or you receive a comment or you talk bad about yourself, it makes you feel even worse. And I think the magic of this exercise is really just reminding yourself that this is really not who you are. And instead, rather like just destroy, like disregarding all these things that you may have received. So yeah, and another thing about self-esteem, it's really, how much we bring to the world. When I say self-esteem, it's how much we care about ourselves. And self-esteem, it's important to keep in mind, it can be high, it can be low, it can be anywhere in between, and it fluctuates on a day-to-day. And that's completely normal because, that we're just human, but it does help having these kind of exercises to just disregard that, get rid of that, and build a healthy self-esteem, which we'll be doing throughout this next couple of slides. So getting back, I will be real with you that finding confidence was not really easy for me. I did have my facial surgery and it helped change my appearance, but it didn't really make me more confident. And, I still felt shame about my facial difference. I still felt anxious when people, would point it out. And I realized that my confidence really came from my community and the support that I received from friends and family. That was really what was transformative for me. So, like I said, finding a community of support was crucial. So attending About Faces Camp Trailblazers was really special. It was amazing to meet other people with similar experiences and really, for the first time, I didn't feel a pressure to talk about my facial difference. I didn't feel the pressure. I didn't feel that anxiety when I was making friends. And, it really felt like we just got each other. And I started to understand that when people ask about your facial difference, maybe they're not coming from a place of negativity. Maybe they're just curious and, just having a different attitude towards those questions that you get was really transformative for me as well. And we did many team building exercises like rock climbing and jumping on trampolines. And here in this picture are some of my friends that I made at camp. And then I also had some support from Big Sister mentors at Big Brothers Big Sisters, which essentially we met once a month and they helped push me outside of my comfort zone when we spent time together. And they really showed me that they cared. So that's all to say, it's really the community that you have around you, the people that you feel close to is what will help you grow into the person that you want to be. And it's okay to, whenever you're feeling down, to reach out. As well, kind of I think of it as an analogy, like they're gardening your plant. They're helping you water it, but at the end of the day, it's your plant. So let's jump into our second activity, which is working on a positive narrative. So I want you to write down a few positive ways that you think about your facial difference, that you think about yourself, a few positive qualities, or, anything really that you just absolutely love about yourself. And I'm sure everyone, has so many different ways, but think of a few and we'll convene again in 1 minute. So I'll set a 1 minute timer and we feel free to share as well at the end of the timer. 1 moment. Okay, there we go. Okay. So just bringing everyone back. I hope you had that. I hope that was enough time to write down as many amazing things about yourself. And if you feel comfortable, if you don't mind sharing, how does it feel to do that? So how does it feel to go from all these negative comments to finally, writing down all these amazing things that really, you know, make you you? And I'll give everyone a few moments to do that. And for people who are joining offline or not live, feel free to just pause the video and think and reflect to yourself. And yeah, or you can share with someone close to you, like a friend or a family member. whatever you feel is right. And while people are typing in the chat, okay, Zoe says it feels uplifting. That's really great to hear. Yeah, I definitely feel the same. I feel empowered. I feel, like this is a better representation of who I actually am. And these are all the amazing things that I'm capable of and the qualities that really actually make me me. And I also talked about how I describe my facial difference. Um, I think of it as a cherry, for example, or a strawberry, something nice. Or even if someone asks me about a story, sometimes I, feel a little bit playful and think about it as like a battle scar from a crazy thing that I did, just something fun and positive that I like to remind myself. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And as well, for other participants joining, feel free to take a moment and share with others around you as well. And one more thing that I wanted to add here, like I talked about before, we had those negative feedback loops. There are also positive feedback loops. So on days where we do something amazing and then we tell ourselves, oh yeah, show ourselves some compassion and say, oh, I was so strong when I did that. Or, you know, I really enjoy being patient, or, reminding yourself of these amazing qualities will in turn help you feel better and build your self-esteem, feed into that positive feedback loop, and just blossom into who you really are. Because treating yourself with respect is extremely important. And if you wouldn't talk to a friend in a way that maybe you have in the past, just remind yourself that that's not okay, and feed your kind of inner self-talk with some of these amazing things that you have written in front of you. And in the next slide, I want to share some tips for really owning your own story. And what I mean by that is kind of responding when someone asks about your facial difference. There are many different ways you can respond. Um, so my first tip is that you don't necessarily owe the person who's asking about your facial difference an explanation. You really don't need to share right now if you don't want to. And you can simply say that. You can say, I don't feel like sharing right now. Um, you can also make a funny story to lighten the mood of the conversation. You can decline to share by simply saying, "Oh, are you sure you're ready to know?" Or "It's top secret information." Just something that, still feeds like the conversation, but doesn't necessarily get really emotional and sensitive. Because research does show that disclosing your facial difference on your own terms, when you want to, when you start the conversation, is much more empowering than when someone else does it for you. And I will be honest, it's not easy. For example, I went on a trip with some friends, and one of the girls asked me about my facial difference, about my scar. And we were walking in the middle of a busy street, and I really felt flustered in the moment. I, started sweating, my heart dropped, and I quickly said it was a hemangioma, and I moved on, and it was awkward. So really, if I could go back, I would have said something funny to lighten the mood, or told her that I'd feel comfortable, sharing at a later time. And then when we have a private space to really chat heart to heart, then I would kind of share and initiate that conversation about my facial difference. So that is just, all these tips that I said, it's really not easy. And even I struggle with day to day. But with all that to say, it is really important to have your own boundaries, and you don't owe anyone an explanation about your facial difference. Okay, so in the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about self-esteem and how we can build, the best version of ourselves, blossom into the most confident person that we can be. self-esteem is influenced by many factors: hobbies, interests, personality, relationships, cultural identity. And it is very important to, appreciate all these different aspects of yourself beyond your physical appearance. Finding confidence really involves discovering and, tapping into those activities that you really enjoy. For me, it's a lot of sports or painting and just spending time with loved ones. In the photo here at the top, I am on a ski trip with my dad at Blue Mountain, and we're having a great time. It's something that we love to do together. And I also like to bike with my dad. And then at the bottom, here is me and my friend. We're making a vision board for our 2024 goals. So these kinds of activities really help stay connected with the people that genuinely support me, and getting involved in hobbies and different extracurricular things is an excellent way to really promote and like foster amazing and deep friendships where you feel comfortable in your own skin. So that's all to say that tapping into those hobbies and those activities that you really enjoy really can help build your confidence. So, activity number 3. In this activity, we will do some drawing. So, this activity consists of drawing a self-portrait and around yourself, some hobbies or talents or positive things about yourself that you really enjoy doing or you would like to explore more. And I'll set a 2-minute timer. Please don't worry about any artistic skills. It is very, we're not expecting Picasso over here. Just focus on really reflecting on the things that make you you. And afterwards, if you feel comfortable sharing after the 2 minutes, feel free to unmute or put it in the chat. But yeah, I will go ahead and set the 2-minute timer, and I will check in with all of you afterwards. Okay. I hope that was enough time to draw something. And if you feel comfortable sharing, I would love for you to either unmute or type in the chat what you drew. What are things about yourself that you put on your piece of paper? Did you like the activity? Did you find it hard? I know 2 minutes is not enough time, and I came prepared. I drew my self-portrait ahead of time. But yeah, I will take a few moments to let everyone type in the chat or unmute, and then afterwards I can share as well my drawing. And for people who are joining offline, you can also take a moment to pause the video and share with a loved one or just reflect on this whole experience. Okay. So for me, I drew my self-portrait. I drew myself in the center. I drew myself with some skis and a tennis ball, some sports that I really like. And I also drew a paintbrush because I like art, and a heart because I like to, I enjoy friendships and relationships, just fostering that part of me, and spending good time with family and friends, which is why I drew this, people holding hands. And yeah, just some stars because I like to go stargazing, but also because I like to notice some little things and, be attentive to details. So these are just some things that I drew, and I would love for you to share, but as well, no pressure if you don't feel comfortable. Okay, we got a chat. So Alexis says that she drew a horse because she likes horseback riding. Oh, that is so cool. Dogs because she likes dogs, and dogs make her happy, and then a trapeze. Wow, Alexis, those are some really unique hobbies, and horseback riding, that is so cool. And dogs are so cute. Wow, I fully agree with that one. And trapeze, that is so adventurous. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. I'll just give a few moments, and if I do receive a chat, we can always go back to that. Now, moving on. I wanted to end this session with some positive affirmations. So affirmations, if you haven't heard of it, it is basically a few phrases that you tell yourself. It could be when you're having a hard time, it could be at the beginning of your day, but these are an amazing tool that helps us, build these positive feedback loops and talk positively about ourselves, recognizing our own strength and such. So everyone, I want you to, repeat after me or sing along with me or kind of repeat with me. I am kind. I am beautiful. I am confident. I am capable of anything I set my mind to. I am gentle and forgiving with myself and others. I always lead with grace and humility. I will conquer the rest of the day and put my best foot forward. So I don't know about you, but I feel, very empowered. I feel happy, and I feel like these words that I just wrote down really kind of, uplifted me in this moment. And I want to encourage everyone to use positive affirmations throughout your day, or when you're just having a hard time, to remind yourself about how amazing, how special, how beautiful, how confident, how just out of this world you really are. Okay, so we're nearing the end of our session. I just wanted to summarize about what we talked today. So the first thing was letting go of negative comments and insecurities. If you ever feel like, just these comments are getting to you, feel free to do this exercise again. Feel free to keep a journal, but when these negative feelings come up, and really try and unpack that. Number two, we talked about finding positive ways to describe ourselves and our facial differences. And I hope all of you realize that those amazing things that you wrote down are actually what define you. And feel free to, keep this piece of paper just as a reminder of today's session, about how you felt through today's session, and, just a sort of a positive affirmation, if you will. And then third, we talked about exploring our hobbies and surrounding ourselves with amazing and positive people tapping into things you like doing, like horseback riding, trapezing, playing with dogs, all are amazing things. And then, yeah, spending time with quality family and friends, and just, being open with those around you. And then number 4, reflecting on positive affirmations. Reflecting and positive affirmation. So these are all tools that can really help build our self-confidence and build these positive feedback loops. And I want to share some few other resources. The Kids Help phone is great when you're having a hard time and you just need someone to talk to and vent. AboutFace has an amazing resource called A Children and Youth Guide to Building Self-Esteem. And this is the guide that I referenced when making today's presentation. I would recommend everyone checking that out. Wonder is a amazing story that I think it's worth reading, that brings lessons on acceptance, kindness, and confidence. I really also like this podcast, My Face, My Story podcast, because the host, who also has a facial difference, brings on different guests and they share their own advice. And then Ugly, which is also like kind of a memoir, talking about overcoming adversity, building self-confidence, all amazing things. And then Big Brothers, Big Sisters, which is also an organization that has no-cost mentorship opportunities for children and youth that I personally found helpful. So thank you. Thank you so much for joining today. I hope it wasn't too much of me speaking and you did take away something meaningful from this session, and just take a moment to just take some deep breaths and, you know, realize how you feel if you feel more confident. And remember, there's no one definition of beauty. You are unique and you have so many cool superpowers. And just remember to embrace those things and really remind yourself of those things on a day-to-day basis. And I'm sure that'll help, like I said, make you blossom into the best version and most confident version of yourself. So thank you so much for joining and for participating. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. But otherwise, I will pass it on to the team and they'll take it from here.
Thank you so much, Alice, for such a wonderful presentation that you did today. If anyone does have any questions who joined us live, you're more than welcome to put those into the chat so we can give a few minutes for those. Zoe says, thank you for sharing your story. Your presentation was very helpful. And just for everyone who did join us, please remember that her presentation will be available on YouTube channel at a later date. For any other questions that you might have, feel free to email Namrit or myself. And we hope that everyone has an amazing day. And thank you again to Alice for such an incredible presentation.
Thank you, Alice.